Big, vicious, historic, all words used to describe Hurricane Florence as the Category 4 monster barrels toward the East Coast. The track shifting south overnight, but Virginia not out of the woods just yet. Andrew's new guidance just in and moments away.
And it's a mad rush to get out of the coastal areas, and it's causing some traffic nightmares on the roads and the rails here at home. We're live with a look at what evacuees are facing.
And as those residents evacuate, we'll show you how Airbnb is offering relief to those impacted by Florence.
On your side, this is NBC12 News Today.
All right, just before 6 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, as you can see, we are tracking Florence, watching this storm move in toward the East Coast. And as we've been doing all week here, we've got team coverage for you this morning. Our Alex Whitler is talking about the travel happening on I-64 today. Kelly Avellino talking about Amtrak, the rail services. Our Candace Smith talking about Airbnb and some shelter issues. But of course, we want to start with Andrew, who's got our first look at Florence.
Okay, and we told you yesterday morning that the forecast for rain was dropping. It continues to drop for us as the latest on Florence continue to show that the track is shifting to the south. That means lesser impacts up here in Virginia and up toward D.C., greater threats in North Carolina and down towards South Carolina now. That track is shifting to the south. Now, the landfall might not be a real classic landfall. It may kind of hover near the coast, but it gets closest Thursday into the Thursday night and early Friday. Heavy rain still a threat for us at times Friday into Saturday. I'm not saying we're going to go out and have the most beautiful weekend ever, but with the Carolina landfall, our threat of heavy rain and tropical storm winds continues to go down a little bit. There still is a concern there could be 40-plus-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That'd be a tropical storm wind gust in southern Virginia. Let's watch out at Emporia, in Mecklenburg, over to Southampton County near Franklin. Southern Virginia has a bigger threat of tropical storm winds. I want to show you the latest here. It's Category 4, 130 miles an hour, kind of dipping a little bit, but should re-strengthen a bit during the day today. Forecast from the Hurricane Center has a Category 4 working its way toward the coastline, but then it's an absolutely sort of a mesmerizing forecast track after that, because with a lack of steering currents, a huge area of high pressure to the north of us, this storm doesn't know where it wants to go. It's just going to sort of linger off the coast. Now, I've covered up with my Friday note and Saturday note, basically Wilmington, North Carolina. And so you're looking at the potential strongest impacts here, south of Hatteras down to Wilmington, even down to Myrtle Beach. And this is something that could linger for days. So you could have a Category 3, maybe weakening to a 2, and then a tropical storm somewhere near the coastline here. And this has the potential to absolutely decimate some communities down there. It's a bad track for southern North Carolina and northern South Carolina. We'll get to more on Florence in a moment and how that track improves our weather. But right now, it's flat out pouring on top of us, and Candace was showing you the slowdowns over to Varian. I'm going to use the on-screen buttons here and zoom in. I mean, this is a downpour sitting now right on top of the eastern side of Henrico County, Pocahontas Parkway, Route 5, Charles City Road. Now, that, I think, is going to lift up to the city, at the very least, the eastern part of the city. So today's forecast is one that has a shower chance now, and then an afternoon chance. The rain chance this afternoon only about 30%. I think most of us miss out on rain today, and if it does rain today in the afternoon, it's not going to be anywhere near as crazy as what we had yesterday late in the day. It's going to be hot again, 87 for the high temperature with partly sunny skies. Another day to sweat as we prepare for potential impacts from Florence. Sarah, over to you.
Okay, we will get ready. Thank you, Andrew. Some schools have already made some decisions about class given Hurricane Florence. So take a look. Richmond, Henrico, and Hanover have all announced they are going to stay closed on Friday. We're still waiting to hear from Chesterfield and school systems in the Tri-Cities. But remember, that full list of closings is always scrolling at the bottom of your screen, and we keep it updated by the minute on our NBC12 News app.
That we have it on the go. And thousands of people are making their way here from the Hampton Roads area, evacuating the Virginia coast.
Yeah, Alex Whitler joins us live. She's on I-64 with a look at what those evacuees are facing. How's the traffic moving, Alex?
Yeah, good morning, Sarah. We're seeing it pick up a little bit of speed now here at the 6 a.m. hour. We know that I-64 has been congested because of this widening project. But now if you mix that in with the number of people coming from the coast, you can imagine that it's causing quite a bit of a headache for drivers. Many of you have even been calling our newsroom. Some of you who live in Chesterfield or Eastern Henrico and commute to Williamsburg or Hampton Roads have called our newsroom telling us that yesterday's evening commute was one of the worst you've ever seen. VDOT even reported several accidents from yesterday along 64. A normally 45, 50-minute work commute turned into a 2-3 hour traffic backup. And viewers even sent us this video right here that you're watching of the congestion on Route 60 in Eastern Henrico. Just take a look at all those people coming from the beach and heading toward Richmond. Now, we know many businesses and schools in the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area have decided to close. So keep that in mind. You're probably going to see a lot more traffic pickup. We're seeing it get busier now in this 6 a.m. hour. So be aware of that, not just on I-64, but also on Route 60. Again, we're on your side and live this morning. Alex Whitler, NBC 12 News.
Okay, thanks for that update, Alex. We know you'll keep watching. Hurricane Florence is also impacting Amtrak service. Some routes have been canceled, some have been changed.
Yeah, and for more information on that, let's check in with our Kelly Avelino in our First Alert Center. Kelly?
All right, well, listen up. This is important if you're traveling using a train service. Amtrak is modifying service south of D.C. beginning today and extending through Sunday. Northeast Regional Service will not operate south of D.C. Today, the auto train route from Lorton, Virginia to Sanford, Florida is canceled as well. And there are many other routes running through North Carolina and southward that are also now canceled or running on a modified schedule. You can check our NBC 12 News app for a full list. Amtrak says impacted riders will be switched to other trains with similar routes for no cost at all. You can check your train status on Amtrak.com or the Amtrak app. You can also call Amtrak's customer service line at 800 USA Rail if you've got any questions about rescheduling or refunds. Sarah?
Hopefully we can all stay patient and helpful as we get through this together. Thank you, Kelly. Well, from Virginia to the Carolinas, thousands are evacuating the coastal areas ahead of the storm, so there will be traffic. Ben Smart with our sister station in Wilmington is there as mandatory evacuations are underway. He has that part of our team coverage.
Here on US 74, evacuations are underway as people leave Wilmington while Hurricane Florence approaches. There's headlights as far as the eye can see. Slow-moving traffic as thousands heed the warnings to get out. A sign on the highway reads, "Vehicles parked on shoulder will be towed in advance of hurricane." Congestion on the roadways heading away from the coast. Almost no one driving toward the approaching hurricane. Gas stations are populated like mini communities, a place for people to rest, grab some food, and fill up the gas tank. Dogs and other pets not left behind. Some happy to share their plans for evacuation. Others focused on the goal and their families.
We're basically planning on staying until the roads are clear to come back. And we hope to come back to a house, but we don't think there's going to be much of a house left.
New Hanover County emergency officials say you should be either evacuated or in a safe place by 8 p.m. Wednesday night. Reporting on the side of US 74, I'm Ben Smart.
And as we talk about evacuations, there are some free and safe places for those impacted by the storm to seek shelter.
All right, we're going to help you out. Candace in the social media center with the new details. Tell us what's going on, Candace.
Well, Airbnb, they're offering relief to those impacted by Florence. Airbnb's Open Homes program allows you to find temporary housing with local Airbnb hosts free of charge. Right now, this is only being offered in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and right here in Virginia. So all you have to do, if we come back out, is go to airbnb.com/openhomes. And once you go to that website, it will take you right there, and then you can fill in and sign up for that information. And I was reading the webpage. They said they've helped over 11,000 families already with this service. There you go, over 11,000 people displaced. So a pretty cool thing and neat thing if you need this. So open homes here, Airbnb. We'll put more information about this story a little later on our NBC 12 News app. Anthony?
Good stuff, Candace. Valuable information. And at 6:07 here this morning, as Hurricane Florence inches closer to the coast, much of Poquoson is under mandatory evacuation orders. And if you walk around town, you'll find that a lot of people are choosing to ignore these orders. Some homeowners say they're used to this flooding, and many of them say that whatever Florence brings won't be any worse than what already happened during Isabel. Take Mike Jenkins, for example. He's among some of these people, and he says he has a good reason why.
Last time on Isabel, they had a big problem with people looting and coming down here and stealing stuff. It's my home, you know. If I can be here to stop something from happening or help it, I will.
We got no choice. You know, if it shifts, it's going to be ugly.
And Ben Vanderberry of Norfolk is one of the thousands who are following those evacuation orders. And as we continue to track Florence, make sure you download our weather app right now. If you already have it, the last 2 days you were waking up to some good news because as Andrew's been following this storm, it's been tracking further south. Get that valuable information when you need it the most. Go ahead and download that here today.
All right, and time now for our first check on the roads. Candace has been watching some flooding, some fog this morning. Let's get over to that First Alert Traffic Center with a look at conditions. What's going on, Candace?
Well, so you mentioned all of that. We also have this accident that we're following. This is here 95 southbound at the Ashland exit at mile marker 92. Crews still on the shoulder. At one point we were blocking that right lane. That has since been moved over here to the right shoulder. So not a huge traffic impact, but I just want you to be mindful of them working in this area and to try to stay at least in the center and left travel lane. We have some roads shut down in Hanover and Chesterfield due to flooding. We'll talk more about that in just a few. Andrew?
All right, we're over here checking out the latest on the tropics, right? This is the big story here as Florence is out there churning. This is a monster storm. It's a Category 4, and a Category 4 that doesn't show any signs of weakening until it gets really close to the coastline. I think I've got the wrong computer, guys. If we can switch it over here and go to Weather 1, that'd be helpful. No, Weather 1 is showing the forecast. What do we got? All right, here we go. Thank you very much. And this is a map that shows you where there are watches and warnings, and there aren't any in and around the Richmond metro right now. However, for those of you in the northern neck where the water has been high all week long, you're under a coastal flood advisory. This one's been reissued. The coastal flood advisory for potential 1 foot of water above ground level now in Middlesex County, Matthews, and Gloucester as well. That coastal flood advisory, I know it says 6 in the morning there, but that now goes through the afternoon. This is down at the beach. And if you're heading down to the beach, you're going to find a ton of traffic there. They have a tropical storm watch in effect. They could get a storm surge 1 to 3 feet. I think in spots it could be 5 feet down here. They have the potential for tropical storm winds, which would be a 40 to 75 mile an hour wind, and also flooding rain potential down here. Tornadoes, also something to watch for, and that's something we're going to be watching for us here as well. The hurricane watches are the Carolina coastline with this storm system a Category 4, 130 mile an hour sustained winds. And as we've been talking all morning, the trend is our friend up here in Virginia. We're not in that cone of concern anymore. We still think we're going to get rain from this and some gusty winds, but the devastation is going to occur when this thing stalls near the coastline and then slowly either works its way inland or stays along the coast for days. Very bad situation, but the huge rain totals now look like they'll be 20 inches or so in North Carolina and South Carolina, and not for us. For us, we get a closer to normal 4 to 5 inch rain forecast for Friday and Saturday. In fact, I've even dropped some days from our first alert weather days. I'll have that for you coming up in the 7-day forecast in just a few minutes. Back over to you.
All right, Andrew, thanks. And Andrew, speaking of that heavy rain, a lot of people at home are wondering if Richmond will need to close the flood wall when that heavy rain associated with Hurricane Florence reaches the city. And that's a valid question. Coming up, we spoke exclusively to the new director of the city's Department of Public Utilities. What he says would have to happen for the flood wall to close. And let's take a live look at Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina. Right now, they're under a hurricane warning as Florence approaches. We're going to check back in with Andrew for the latest after this quick break. But Sarah, what do you got?
Hey, I want to show you something real quick. Head over to Facebook or Instagram. Make sure you grab this Get Ready checklist from one of our sites. A lot of you have been playing along. You can screen grab this checklist, and then you can tell us how you're doing on getting ready. Some of you with a sense of humor here, but let me pull this up. This is Christy's list. She still needs to get some cash and get some gas, but Christy, you're well on your way. Let us know how you're doing. We're back after this.
Okay, don't typically do this. Don't typically start out this segment at this time of day with the 7-day forecast. We're going to take a glimpse at it, then we're going to go back to it. And the reason why I want to show it to you is because I've dropped 2 days from our first alert weather days. Starting over the weekend, I think, we had Thursday through Sunday as first alert weather days. I've dropped Thursday, tomorrow, from the first alert weather day column, dropped Sunday as well, as we now focus on the potential biggest impacts, which are lesser than what we were worried about a couple days ago, biggest impacts on Friday and Saturday. I hope this kind of sets the stage for what we're going to talk about in this forecast, and then we'll get back to that 7-day. If you remember yesterday, early in the morning, in fact, if you use the weather app, I did this at 4:15 in the morning, talked about how the door was opening for us to have much less rain than we were expecting. And that I thought that the National Weather Service Weather Prediction Center, that's what you see up here, would drop its forecast. Well, they've done it. And although yesterday you guys were giving me a hard time on social media, this is now a forecast that lines up more with our thinking. You're talking about Charlottesville, Richmond getting maybe 3 to 4 inches of rain out of this system. That would be Friday into Saturday would be the heaviest stuff. And even that is way lower than what we were thinking and concerned about earlier. Now, 3 to 4 inches is no joke. That could cause some flash flooding. We could have maybe even a tornado warning out there in that Friday, Saturday time frame. But it's not going to be the entire state gets 6 to or let's say 5 to 15 inches of rain. That doesn't look like a player anymore. Southern Virginia, higher rain totals at about 5 inches, and the biggest rain is going to be down in North Carolina and South Carolina, where this thing is close to making landfall, or where it comes to landfall. Now, when I'm using those funny words because there's no guarantee it actually comes on shore until maybe Sunday or so. This is going to be a system that slows down early Friday morning, Category 3 near the coast, Saturday, Sunday. Look at how close these graphics are to each other. And the point being that as this comes close to the coast, it basically puts the brakes on. Hurricane needs to be steered, and there's no wind to steer it. So it gets closer to the coast, it sits there, and it rains itself out. The cone of concern goes up to about Raleigh. This thing could drift a little bit to the north, could drift down to the south, and the trend on the forecast models as this continues goes to go to the south. And that's what I saw yesterday, and that's why we watched NBC12 or used our app. You got that first alert that the rain forecast was dropping pretty quickly for the Richmond Metro and up into Central Virginia. I want to show you the storm surge map. This means a lot. This is why it's so concerning from basically Bald Head Island to Wilmington all the way up to Morehead City. That's a 10-foot storm surge potential. It's a devastating storm surge potential, and I'll go back there real quick because this may last for a day or more as that storm sits off the coast. Outer Banks, 3 to 5 foot storm surge. For those of you on the bay, we also could get a 3 to 5 foot storm surge in especially the southern portion of the bay. In the northern portion of the Chesapeake Bay, it's a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. So that's still something we're watching for as we get closer. There's some rain out there now, and there is a flat out downpour again on the eastern side of the city over to Verona near the airport. It is pouring, and that's growing. This is a tropical level of humidity, and that's producing some rain showers that are lifting from south to north. I think a lot of you have a wet commute this morning. So I raised the 7 in the morning rain chance to 30%. The rain chance drops off a bit as we head into the midday and then picks back up later. Isolated downpours possible later today. And again, we'll end with the way we started, 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, some showers late in the day, mid-80s. The shower chance builds as we head into the evening and overnight. First alert weather days Friday and Saturday. If we get damaging wind, or maybe some tornadoes or some downpours, that happens Friday, Saturday. Sunday, just a few showers as Florence weakens and goes away, and then we're in the low 80s early next week. Sarah, over to you.
Really seeing a nice shift. Thank you, Andrew. Well, Sky 12 is giving us a bird's eye view of the flood wall near Manchester and the Mayo Bridge. At this point, thankfully, it doesn't look like the city will need to close the flood wall for Florence. The flood wall closes to keep the James River from overflowing into the city. Public Utilities Director Calvin Farr says it's rain that falls northwest of Richmond that matters when it comes to closing the flood wall. Farr says it's a common misconception that closing the flood wall's 19 gates depends on rainfall above the city alone. Interesting information.
Yeah, all right. Now, yesterday we were talking about some flash flooding, some rain this morning. And Candace, how is that impacting the roads here this morning for some of us?
Well, Anthony, out in Chesterfield, we have Otterdale shut down due to those flooded roads here between Westerly and Woolridge. It's shut down in each direction. Then we head out towards Hanover, where we have a few roads not closed, but you want to use caution traveling them. Lee Park Road near Lee Davis, Studley Road near Rural Point. And if you notice, I put a little school bus here. This is right near Rural Elementary School, Rural Point Elementary School. So kids, school buses come around 7 o'clock this morning, so it might take them a little longer either to get to you or to get you to school this morning. And then Studley Road near Williamsville. Take it easy there as well. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Candace. We'll do that. We're also one day closer to Hurricane Florence making landfall, potentially, as we've said, now devastating the Carolinas. We know many of you are probably out shopping. Maybe you're getting some emergency supplies.
And we wanted to help out here at NBC12. So coming up, we're going to see how I got a chance to surprise some Kroger shoppers who are stocking up on all the necessities.
And let's get outside, take another live look at Hurricane Florence. This is on our radar. It's ever-changing track shifting south. That doesn't mean we're out of the woods. Andrew has the latest guidance all coming up.
Good morning. As we continue to track Florence, I want to show you the latest model trends here. The computer models take this thing near the coastline, slow it or park it on the southern portion of North Carolina's coastline, and then try to bring it down toward Charleston. And so that's why you see a continuation of the tracks on the computer model. If you follow me on Facebook, I sent out earlier a really good rain map that shows how our rain threat is lower, our flooding rain threat is lower. We still will get a storm surge up the bay. There still could be some flooding rain. I think it'd be more flash flooding, kind of like what we saw last night versus overall statewide flooding. And as we head into Friday and maybe Saturday, there still is a possibility we could have a tornado warning. What do we need on a morning like this? Some serenity. And here's Serenity here. She's dressed for hot and humid weather, looking great and ready to go. It's still, as we're rolling through September, feels like summer out there. It's hot and humid with Call Federal sponsoring that segment. And with all this humidity, is flat out pouring. The rain rate's impressive here. Southern portion of the city over to Verona. That's going to drift right on top of the city in the next half hour. If you're hopping on the bike or the bus or in the car, be ready. It will be pouring here on you, I think, in the next hour, hour and a half. 72 at 7 in the morning, 86 at 3. Could be some downpours again later in the day. Candace?
All right, Andrew, we've been following the flooding here out in Chesterfield, Otterdale between Westerly and Woolridge. We had Otterdale shut down in each direction, but check this out. We just got a tweet coming in moments ago from 511 saying that it's cleared. So that means those lanes have since reopened on the northbound side and southbound side of Otterdale. Hopefully that standing water has since moved out. Back to you guys.
All right, Candace, thank you so much. And in this week's Acts of Kindness, we wanted to help out some of you as you went to the grocery stores to buy the supplies necessary as Hurricane Florence gets here. So I had the opportunity, rather, to head out to the Kroger on Midlothian Turnpike to surprise some of our lucky viewers and pay for their groceries. There I met several families getting things they need, including Carol Foster, and she's from Powhatan. She had a cart full of groceries, and watch as I delivered some good news. We would like to pay for your groceries as you get ready.
Oh no, you're kidding.
I'm so serious.
That's so sweet.
Aw, don't cry.
Very much.
Don't cry. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Well, good.
it's very sweet.
Pretty sure that made my week, folks. Now, Carol's daughter plus her 3 grandkids are all staying with her, so picking up her grocery tab was a major help, and I was so incredibly happy to do it. All right. During a hurricane, staying connected using your cell phone can be a difficult task.
It sure can, but Comcast is making sure you stay connected over their Wi-Fi service if the storm knocks your power out. Coming up, when and where you can connect if you need it.